my haunted house experience. When I was around 12 or 13, my sister and I came across a game when we visited my cousins in Mexico. It's basically a game that connects you to the other side and you can communicate with a good or bad spirit. It's called the Red Book game. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, so I decided to play. It was a very freaky experience. I believe whatever spirit we were communicating with attached to us in a negative way. Fast forward, we went back home after a week in Mexico and it was summertime. I used to stay up late with my sister, Jess, and cousin, Betty, until 2 or 3 in the morning playing board games or watching movies. One particular night we were playing a game and it was about 2 in the morning. We heard a slight knock on the door. I went to go open it and there was no one there. We thought it was our younger sister, Ash, playing a prank on us, so we didn't think anything of it. A couple minutes later we heard 3 knocks, but this time it was louder. I went to go open it again, and no one was there. At this point we were afraid and debating on who should go downstairs to check if it was really my sister pranking us. As we were talking again, 3 knocks, I quickly opened the door, and no one was there. We all decided to go downstairs to check if anyone was awake. My parents were asleep, my grandma was asleep, and my little sister was also asleep. We ran back upstairs because we were horrified. As we were talking about the knock, we heard a large slam coming from downstairs. We had no idea what it was. Betty and Jess made me go check, of course, cause I was the youngest, haha, and it was our chimney protector that had flung across the room. My dad came out mad because he had work the next morning. He inspected the area to see what could have caused the fall. He was surprised because it is a pretty large, heavy object, but didn't believe it fell by itself and made us go to sleep. That was my first paranormal experience of many. Now this story I'm about to tell is my most creepiest, worst experience I had. After my first paranormal experience, odd things would happen, such as random things missing that I had just put down, things falling off the counter, frequent arguments, fights between my sisters and I, as if there was a really negative energy present in the house. I always felt like I was being watched. I never slept with the lights off because I felt like I was not alone. One particular summer night, Jess, Betty, and I were watching a show. Jess and Betty were sitting on one sofa facing the TV and I was sitting on the single chair sofa. We heard a sudden growl. It sounded like a wild pig growl coming from our backyard. We did not live in a ranch, we lived in the city, so we found that really strange. Jess paused the TV to see if we can hear it again, but there was no growl. We opened the window to see if it was maybe a stray dog, but there was nothing. We all sat back down to continue watching the show, when I felt a sudden hair pull. It was so aggressive my neck snapped back and hit the staircase. I shouted in anger because I thought it was my little sister messing with me. When I turned around, I saw a little human with pin black straight hair, straight bangs, pale skin, and a faint smile. I'm getting chills typing this. I quickly turned back around and jumped all the way to the sofa with Betty and Jess. I don't know how I jumped 5 feet from one sofa to the next, but I did it after I saw this. My sister Jess sat there in horror, shocked on what she saw, and we all ran upstairs to the room. Betty did not know what was going on because she was watching the TV, but Jess claimed she saw when my hair was pulled. Of course I did not want to sleep alone at night, so all 3 of us tried to sleep in a twin bed. Jess was charging her phone, and her charger has a bright blue light, so it was lighting up the room. I couldn't go to sleep, so I was staring at the walls of the room. In the corner of my eye I saw something moving. I glanced and I noticed the drawer was slowly opening. I kicked Jess and Betty so they can wake up, and I told them the drawers were opening. We all laid there in horror watching the drawers opening one by one. We hid under the covers and planned to make a run for it. I got the nerve to get up and run towards the door. The door was stuck, it wouldn't open. We were all crying in horror trying to get out, and Betty forced the door open after what seemed like forever. My parents came out of their room, and we couldn't even talk to tell them what happened. After we explained to my parents about the drawers opening, we went with my dad to show him. The drawers were all open. They were all opened in an even manner. He made us go to church and get blessed the next day, The priest also came over to bless the house. Story continued. Second creepiest encounter: the women in black. After the house was blessed, paranormal activity was still occurring. We were seeing black shadow figures run from one room to the next. We were hearing noises of someone running from one place to the next. When we were downstairs, we would hear someone jumping on the bed upstairs when we knew no one was there. I feel like this entity would mostly pick on my sister and I. My parents would see weird things happen, but they wouldn't tell us because they didn't want to frighten us. This one particular night I was laying on the sofa watching a movie with my sister Jess. It wasn't too late because my parents were still awake in their room. Our living room is attached to the kitchen, so I was laying on the sofa facing the staircase, and Jess was laying on the other sofa facing directly towards the TV. After the movie finished, the credits came on, so it was pretty dark in the living room. The hallway light was on, so I can still see the glare in the kitchen. We were too lazy to get up and get the remote to change the TV, so we were just talking. We then got interrupted by a sudden laughter. It sounded just like my mom's laugh, as if the entity was mocking her sound. My mom has the habit of scaring us all the time since we would stay up really late, so we thought it was her. "Stop scaring us, Mom, we know it's you." Silence, no response. "Mom, is it you?" Still no response. My sister Jess and I were debating on who should get up and turn the lights on. We were too afraid since the living room was so dark, and the light switches were located by the kitchen, so it was a walking distance to get there. I got the courage to get up and turn them on. As I was walking towards the light switch, I saw a black figure, definitely a woman, standing in the corner of the kitchen. You can see she had a black veil over her face and was wearing a big black lace dress. She had a smile on her face as if she was laughing or giggling. I quickly looked away and ran to my parents' room, and my mom was still awake watching TV. My sister Jess followed behind me. She saw the glare of the figure on the TV. Of course, my parents only said stop watching scary movies and go to sleep. Because of that experience, I have never seen that movie The Women in Black or Conjuring. It came out a year or two after that experience occurred. The entity I saw resembled those ladies in the black dress. This is a story to be continued. I will add on when I have time later on today. My sister Amazing Annette is also in the comment section. Feel free to ask her questions. I do not condone anyone to play the Red Book game. If you do, play at your own risk. My house is haunted and I need help. I'm 27, live alone in my house, never believed in the paranormal. It all started a few months ago. I began hearing tapping, scratching and other things I couldn't explain. In the beginning it would be a few taps here and there and I didn't think much of it. After some time I was hearing the scratches as well. I would hear it coming from inside the walls. The scratching started scaring me a lot. This would go on and get louder and more frequent. Fast forward 1 month ago. I woke up one night to taps and scratching in the walls, then I heard a big bump. Went to my living room and a painting was on the floor. I got so scared I left and spent the night at a friend's. The next day I began hearing whispers and tapping. Now it sounded like it was coming from my bedroom mirror. This went on for a few weeks. Then this Monday morning I was getting ready for work and in the shower. I closed my eyes to get the shampoo out of my hair. I started hearing someone whisper my name over and over really fast. When I opened my eyes I saw the silhouette of a woman. I blinked and she was gone. When I got home from work I was on edge. I couldn't get the woman out of my head. I turned on the TV to think of something else. Then I heard a male shout saying my name. I was so spooked I left and was with family until yesterday. And last night when I went to bed the scratching and whispers got more intense. Then I heard loud footsteps running to my bedroom door. It stopped. I was frozen in my bed. Nothing happened for a few minutes, then the door squeaked open. No one was there. Please someone help me, I'm beyond scared and can't take any more of it. purple thing. This happened to me and my cousin. And eventually to everyone else in that house. It was the mid-90s. My cousin Andres and I were hanging out at a house that belonged to my other cousin, Norma, and her husband, George. It must have been around 10:45 to 11:15 p.m. when Andres and I decided to head out and call it a night. He drove a Mitsubishi Eclipse at that time. I was about 10 feet ahead of him on the sidewalk. When I got to the passenger side door, I reached for the door handle to open it. It was locked. Annoyed because it was a bit cold, I turned back to see if he was nearby and mumbled, "Hurry up, Dick, it's call." I stopped. Frozen. I didn't say a word. This happened quickly. In a matter of 5-8 seconds would be my guess. Next to Andres, above his left shoulder, just behind his head there was a bluish, purple orb. I would estimate it to be about 1-2 feet in diameter. I probably blinked a couple of times trying to register what I was seeing. At that exact moment, my cousin ducked and swatted at the area where the purple orb was located. The purple thing quickly undulated as it appeared to propel itself in the air, up and away from my cousin, to his left, and toward the branches of a nearby tree. It quickly dissipated and dematerialized into nothing. Again, this happened quickly. The best way to describe it is that it resembled an amoeba. Like something that you would see through a microscope lens. I was aware enough of what had happened that I didn't want to influence my cousin's response. I asked Andres, "What did you see?" I let him tell me first to make sure it wasn't a firefly or something else that I was seeing. "A blue, purple thing," Andres answered. His eyes were wide af. He was truly scared. "What?" I asked in disbelief. "Yay. WTF was that?" he asked. He was visibly shaken. "I don't know, but let's get the fuck out of here," I replied. A few seconds later, we were burning rubber and getting the hell out of there. I wish the story stopped there. It doesn't. When we mentioned the incident to my cousin Norma and her husband George, they exchanged knowing looks, but dismissed it as us exaggerating something that we mistook for a purple orb. A few weeks went by and we were hanging out again. Finally, they admitted that they believed us. A few days after we had experienced that incident, they explained that they returned home from a night out and parked in their driveway. The garage was closed and they were just going to leave their car in the driveway. It has one of those garage doors that has about 3 small rectangular windows built in. When they shut off their car, they looked toward the garage in front of them and a series of lights lit up the inside of the garage. It looked like a police car was in there and the lights were swirling, George said. And just like that, the lights stopped. According to them, they looked at each other and agreed that we weren't making our incident up or had a misconception. "We believe you guys. But the story doesn't stop here." They went on with their daily lives. George worked for a major grocery store in their industrial bakery and his shift fluctuated. One night, Norma was alone in the house with their infant son. It was George's turn to work a graveyard shift at the bakery. According to Norma, she heard a thump in the kitchen early in the morning, 2:30 to 3 am-ish, and grabbed their gun for protection. Their bedroom has 2 doors. One door was near the front door, to the right as you walked into the house, the other door led to the laundry, kitchen area from their bedroom. The laundry area had another door that led to the side of the house where they kept their trash cans. She was under the impression that someone was trying to break in through the side door. She decided to use the bedroom door near the front entrance in order to work her way through the living room and through the kitchen, thus flanking the potential burglar and catching him off guard. She made her way to the kitchen and toward the door that led to their bedroom via the laundry room. There was no one there. She felt relief. But that didn't last long. As she stood there looking at the empty laundry room, the door to their bedroom started shaking violently. The doorknob twisted back and forth and the door shook as if someone was trying to force it open. But no one was there. She was freaking terrified. They had a priest come and bless the house that weekend. According to them, that put a stop to the incidents. I still tease my cousin Andres from time to time with "if you don't buy me a beer the purple thing will come get you." He just tells me to shut up and not to joke around with that. Has anyone experienced something similar? Andre's school friend at the time suggested that it was a djinn. To this day, I have no idea what it was. All I know is that we both experienced the same thing at the same time. He described the same thing that I saw without me telling him what I saw. What do you want? I've been wanting to share this for a while as it has been going on for years. I feel like I'm personally being haunted. I don't remember when it started, but I've definitely been more tuned into noticing it over the past few years. I'm currently 52 male and I have always believed in the supernatural. The first significant encounter was while I was staying with my mom after my girlfriend and I went our separate ways and I needed a place to crash till I could save up some funds to get a new place. I was sleeping in her guest bedroom which was decorated very frilly, full comforter set, trinkets and knickknacks everywhere, and I'm completely under the covers which are tucked in pretty tightly, and I'm sound asleep. Also, you should know that I'm a pretty heavy sleeper. Suddenly, I'm awakened by something yanking my leg from the foot of the bed hard. I immediately sit up and look, but there's nothing there. I just kind of nervously go back to sleep and eventually just kinda blow it off. Fast forward about 5 years. Now I'm living in a 3-bedroom modular home that I rent. One of the smaller bedrooms I call my cave. It's where I tinker with things, play my guitar, surf the web, you get the idea. Anyway, I am constantly seeing things out of the corner of my eye and hearing someone just outside the door when nobody but me is here. I try to open the door really fast to catch whatever it is, but no luck. Then one night, I'm laying down in the room right across the hall from the cave and I notice that the lights from the kitchen, the clock from the stove and the 2 night lights that are in there, are not as noticeable as they usually are. Almost like someone is standing in the doorway blocking the lights. I roll over and look towards the doorway, but I can't see anything and it's really dark. So I lean as far off the bed as I can trying to look into the kitchen and it's still too dark. I should be able to see into the kitchen WTF. All of a sudden, a large shadow peels away from one side of the door opening. As the shadowy figure moves across the doorway and out of sight, now I can see into the kitchen. I immediately jump out of bed thinking that someone is in my house, and as I do so, I hear the door to the cave open and shut just as I get to my feet. I run out the door, across the hall and throw open the door to the cave totally expecting to see someone standing there. I turn on the light and nobody is there. I check the window, closed. I look in the closet, empty. The latest is that this thing has been following me to work. I say this because quite frequently, on my drive home from work, it feels like someone is grinding their knees into the back of my seat, like a little kid. I find myself yelling at it to stop. I scream at it to get out of my car, or leave me the fuck alone. I don't think it wants to hurt me. I just want it to leave. Does anyone have any thoughts or suggestions? My girlfriend's house and the woods in her neighborhood. I'm usually pretty skeptical about the unexplainable. I've posted on this sub in the past. About a year ago. I had a lot of paranormal, unexplained things happen during that time, but since then nothing's really happened. That is until I met my girlfriend at least. We've been dating for 6 months and in those 6 months I've witnessed some creepy shit. The woods by her house, I love the woods, they've never bothered me. I was in Boy Scouts for 5 years and I've never been creeped out by the woods. I've been alone in the woods and it's never been an issue. But those woods are different. I've never been in the woods but I've been just outside the woods. One time I was waiting for my girlfriend's mom to fall asleep so she could sneak me in for a booty call. She told me to wait by the woods in my car. When I was there I felt like I was being watched and I felt very uneasy. I didn't feel safe at all. I didn't want to get out of my car. To be honest, I repeatedly made sure that my car was locked and I shrunk down in my seat a bit. Afterwards I talked to my girlfriend about it. She mentioned the woods in the past, but I didn't think it was those particular woods. She told me some of the experiences she's had in the woods. I trust my girlfriend and I don't think she'd make up that kind of stuff. She's not that type of person, but I'm more of a believer if it happens to me or I witness something. She told me a few experiences. One time she was in her car with her ex by the woods. I'm pretty sure it was the same spot I was at, and they both heard a bone-chilling scream. It was off in the distance, so it was faint. It sounded like a woman's scream. She's heard it a few times. She's also seen white humanoid figures with long arms. She told me that her and some of her friends went in the woods and would leave each other alone for a bit as sort of a game. When it was her turn she felt like she was being watched in all directions, and she heard leaves rustling like something was moving. It was only for 5 minutes then her friends came back. When it was her friend's turn they found him in a fetal position with scratch marks on his arm. They weren't too deep. Once they found him they helped him up and booked it out of the woods. Despite the stories and being too afraid to get out of my car, I didn't really have a reason to anyways. I want to go and investigate for myself. I sure as hell won't go alone, but my girlfriend is done with those woods. There's no way she's going back. If I ever do go in those woods I'll record what I find and share it here, or at the very least I'll post about it. Her house, I haven't seen all that much happen in person, most of it has been over FaceTime. I've only seen a couple things for myself, others she'll tell me. We FaceTime late at night so she can sleep. My presence relaxes her, just knowing I'm there. One time when she was dead asleep I saw the blanket slide off her a bit. It wasn't her moving or anything. The blanket just got pulled off of her slowly, maybe an inch or so, creepy to say the least. Her phone has also moved on its own while I've been on FaceTime. One time I heard tapping on her screen, and I thought she was doing it to mess with me. I told her to knock it off because I was trying to sleep too. I looked over at my phone and she was facing away from the phone and asleep. Those are the personal experiences I've had. Some of the things she's told me are creepy as hell but I'm not quite sure if I believe them. The really creepy stuff started happening a couple weeks ago. She went to her dad's house about 3 hours north in the middle of nowhere. When she came back she started hearing footsteps running across her room late at night. She also hears laughing and crying. She feels like she's being watched, and she says that she'll see a little girl hiding behind her closet door. She has a dresser next to her closet and it leaves a little gap. That's where she says she sees the girl. The past few nights she hasn't been able to sleep at all. I don't know if there's really a little girl. Like I said, I haven't witnessed it myself. But whatever is going on, it's keeping her up at night. When I've spent the night at her house though, I've heard knocking on the window. She has a fenced-in backyard. The fence is one of those tall plastic ones that would be very difficult to get over. The creepiest part is the knocking always happens during the witching hour, and it's always 3 knocks. Sometimes rapid and sometimes slower. She says it's every night. The one time I checked the time it was 3:20. All I know is every time it's between 3-4. There's no way that it's a tree or anything. If it was the fact that there's only knocking around a specific time and only 3 times is highly unlikely. Hopefully whatever is in her room doesn't follow her. We're looking to get an apartment together at the end of the year. In the meantime, at least, is there anything I can do to ward off whatever negative entity is there? I read somewhere that 3 knocks is the sign of a demon, but I'm not sure if it's anything like that. If it were, what could I do? Her dad's house has a very dark energy. I'm good with sensing energies of places. One time we went there for a few days back in April. Whenever we were at the house we were both irritable towards each other. We would leave and everything would be fine. She stayed there with her ex for a month and it caused a lot of issues. They ended up breaking up after staying there for a while. About a month later, a couple weeks after we were there, we almost broke up. It's something about that place that causes shit to go wrong. She's had a traumatic past, and a lot of horrible things have happened in that house. No murders or anything. I won't share what's all happened there just because it's personal stuff that I don't feel she'd want me sharing, even though it would be to internet strangers.